Okay, our next topic for discussion, focus on developments in SA tax treaties and BITs, bilateral investment treaties. I'd like to welcome Dan Foster and Peter Leon, who are both international tax specialists at Webber Wentzel. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the international tax specialist. Peter's the mining law specialist or corporate law specialist. I'm just going to give a brief update on tax treaties generally before Peter launches into a far more interesting topic of bilateral investment treaties. I don't have a clicker. So there has been a lot of activity in regards to tax treaties, but in fact, only two new treaties have come into force in the last 12 months. I'll only be focusing on the last 12 months. But two quite important treaties, of course, India and Mauritius. I'll be speaking a little bit more detail about Mauritius in a moment. There are still many treaties still to come into force. Of those, actually there's one update to this slide. Cyprus, as far as I know, has indeed now been ratified by Cyprus, so should come into force soon, of quite a popular treaty, which I'll get to in a moment. And the Hong Kong and Qatar treaties have been ratified, but not yet in force. And still many treaties under negotiation. 4 of those, which are highlighted there, Kuwait, Luxembourg, Netherlands, and Switzerland, 4 very important treaties currently under negotiation. They have, in the last 2 weeks, I understand, gone to Parliament for ratification. You'll also notice, I think there's at least 7 treaties there with African countries under negotiation, so clearly still a focus for Treasury, is building a network of tax treaties with Africa to compete with our friends in Mauritius. So, why is all this important? Well, summarised here are the old and new withholding rates on interest, dividends and royalties. I suppose we'd expect to see a trend of an upward movement in interest withholding taxes, given that South Africa never had interest withholding tax in the past and never really gave much thought to the withholding rate in the treaty. With interest withholding tax coming in, we can probably expect those rates to go up, although in recently ratified treaties that's not yet the case. I'm sure we'll see that change. Dividends, we've actually seen some reduction in some treaties. For example, Mauritius, you'll see there, the new treaty. But somewhere like Cyprus, which has enjoyed a very favourable treaty for many years with 0 withholding tax on everything, has come off quite lightly in the new negotiation, but now has a dividend withholding tax. Of course, Cyprus, just to mention them again, does give access to the EU, and it's very nice to have a treaty with low withholding taxes within the EU, given the access to the EU Parent Subsidiary Directive. But we always must caution, with that directive, there is moves afoot to bring in anti-avoidance rules, the use of the Parent Subsidiary Directive and tax treaties. So I expect we'll see a lot about that in future, and Cyprus is often used by South African companies for that. Another thing to note, you'll see there's a couple of BRICS treaties on this list, Brazil and India. But interestingly, the new Indian treaty does not have, they've not negotiated